This is BBC4 handing over the party with a sigh of relief to children's entertainers in the final part of Under the Spotlight.
I do recall quite vividly standing in the playground of my secondary school, looking around at all these boys and girls running around, and I thought, I can probably make a living out of these people.
What a beautiful day it is today, I thought. Today is a... Raining! Was it raining? Well, it wasn't in Fairyland.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and sausages. He's not there, I'm telling you, he's not.
Don't you think about it.
Now, boys and girls, Dippy is going to try to find Sam's card.
I'm not no limbo expert, but I can actually get under quite a low level now. But it's right. Somebody with a belly like mine is not bad.
Now, if there's anybody alive, then you put your hands up.
1, 2, 3, go. It's fallen on the floor. That's better.
When they find out you're a children's entertainer, oh my God, how do you do it?
And tickle yourself.
I used to drink in a local pub with some friends, and we used to play cards, used to play poker. And one night I showed them these 2 card tricks that I'd learned when I was younger, and I couldn't believe it blew them away.
I fell into children's entertaining by accident when a company who were looking for new, bubbly, young people to entertain children came to my university, and I thought, great, really good money for the amount of hours that you were doing, and as a student it just was incredibly liberating.
I was bullied. I was bullied. And I felt that doing the magic eased that. People saw me in a different way, as it were.
The real start of my career was way back in 1956 as a Redcoat children's entertainer. And I stayed with them in the end for 9 years.
My mother wanted to buy me a cinematograph. I think it was about £8.50, which was a fantastic amount 50 or 60 years ago. And she said, no, I'm most certainly not going to buy that if it's just a toy. And the salesman was very good. He said, well, we've got a compendium of magic. So she said, yeah, you can have one of those.
I think I've got the usual magic set, which most boys do, and most boys throw them in the bin. But you'll find that most children's entertainers are the ones that hang on to them. You know?
I used to be a teacher, but I'm all right now. The pressure and the stress and the paperwork of the job was just too much. And then I met Bob, and he said to me, come with me and be a clown. So I did.
I'd come from a family of entertainers anyway, and they could all sing, and I couldn't. I mean, I did have a little go at it, but it didn't do too well. So I decided that I was going to try and do the magic. Sort of left the council. I was an executive officer, and I thought to myself, OK, I want to take the money and just do my magic show.
I was very interested in clowning, and I focused on that quite a bit, and I ended up teaching clowning at a drug rehab. But I was aware that I was not fully qualified to deal with the issues that were coming up.
I think I'd had enough for the particular boss I was working for, and it was an instinctive thing, not much thought given to it really, but I said, well, that's it, I resign. And he said to me, what are you going to do? And I said, I'm going to be a magician. And he said, you bloody fool.
My children's show is primarily magic, although I do play games with them, do some balloon modelling.
I'm what you might call the traditional children's entertainer. My show consists of magic, fun, laughter, excitement, comedy, ventriloquism. I also do Punch and Judy as well.
I'm not actually a magician. I can't do anything right. My puppets are the ones who actually do the shows, but they refuse to do it on every occasion. So what I have to do, I have to get the children to come up to do the shows with me. No matter what I say, I always get it wrong, and the children always get it right.
Getting it wrong? So the Goldilocks and the four bears. No, Uncle Alan, it's Goldilocks and the three bears. Yes, you're right.
The parties here consist of all sorts of activities: dancing, singing, games, puppetry, magic, balloon modelling, various skills that entertainers use. But what's so special about them here is that it is all in fairyland. It's a little girl's paradise. You walk downstairs and you're transported into another world. From the age of 11, I started doing plays at school, and I've absolutely loved them, and my whole life revolved around doing school plays. And my passion for the career grew and grew as I got older.
There you go, Christina. Happy birthday to you.
For me, children's entertaining is great because you get to play lots of different roles. However, my first love will always be the acting.
Hello, boys and girls. Hello, everybody. My name's Mr. Nibbles.
About a year and a half ago, I started to discuss with my family the idea of putting on a show to take to the Edinburgh Festival. And my mother's advice was, well, you should write about what you know.
I'm 28 years old. I'm in a strange house, dressed as a rabbit. What on earth am I doing?
It works out well that I do children's parties at the weekend and auditions in the week.
Goodbye, fairy school. Goodbye, fairy house. Goodbye, fairy friends. Wow! Rub your magic tummies, wiggle your magic nose, and let's see if we can change.
In mystical fairies, they do like to have their entertainers who look, you know, pretty and wear a bit of makeup and, you know, look quite fairy-like. So I don't think they would have somebody who looked quite, I don't know, butch in a fairy dress.
Ladies and gentlemen, sausage and beans. No! Ladies and gentlemen, boys and chickens. No! When I do the show, it's the same old thing. It's the same tricks, it's the same gags. So a child that has been to a party last week, if he comes to a party next week, he'll see exactly the same show. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Eve's birthday party. Let's give her a big clap.
But you don't always do them in the same order.
More or less, I do.
No, the last time I saw your show, it wasn't the
I was
same
keeping
as
on your toes, you see.
I tune in what they want. Sometimes I play the limbo, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I play pass the parcel, sometimes I don't. Sometimes they want trendy music, other times they want the Beatles and Elvis. So I can turn up at a 7 and 8-year-old's party and it will be different to the 7 and 8-year-old's party I did the day before.
That is the real secret. Children participating rather than just sitting there and actually looking at you. They take part.
Really, you're creating a magic circle almost. You're creating the atmosphere for how the magic show will go.
If I say, hello, everybody, will you say, hello, Mrs. Custard? Will you do that? Oh, excellent. Hello, everybody. Oh, aren't you clever?
It's creating a bond between you, like a family thing almost, isn't
Mm.
it? And so much so that when you finish a party, the children say, where are you going? And I say, well, I'm going home now. Why? Are you not staying with us? And we say, no, I've got to go home and make Mr. Custard's tea. And, oh, that's all right then.
Bless them. They believe in magic.
Oh, some of the little girls definitely believe I'm a real fairy. And they just want to go with you, you know.
When I woke up, I was only a tiny, weeny fairy.
I saw you.
I was this big, and I lived inside the primrose just up here. Now,
I lived there too.
did you?
And I lived there too.
You know, their imaginations are twice as big as mine.
And I live in that flower.
Some people will get into children's entertainment because they think it's an easy option. They think it's a good way to make a fast buck. And it's the complete opposite.
My first show, Bob came along with me, didn't you? Thank goodness. And I did the show, but because I was so inexperienced, I had this series of tricks that I did, and instead of it taking half an hour, it took 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
10 minutes. And then I'm thinking, how on earth do I fill the next hour?
I remember during the first show, I had all my props out, all the parents could see my props. I thought it was the thing to do. But while I'm doing my show, this William, he was 3 years old at the time, I'd already sat him down once with the magic wand, but he was back for more, and he found my handcuffs and he found my rubber chicken, and I remember it now to this day. He ran off with this rubber chicken going, wobbly chicken, wobbly chicken. Nightmare. Yeah, William and the rubber chicken.
The first one, I put makeup on, which was water-based. Well, I sweat. I'm a very hot person, so I sweat. And it just ran, and I looked like Dracula. It was a nightmare.
2 boys were sat at the side, looking so unimpressed the whole time. And I got a lift back to the station from the dad afterwards, and I said, oh, I don't know what happened with those 2 boys. They obviously weren't enjoying it. And he said, well, they came up to me and they just said, she's just not funny.
Well, these are long ones, you see, and because they're long, you've got to give them a really, really good...
You have to be prepared to be vulnerable and be prepared to be taken by surprise.
Ow! This boy kept slapping me, and it really stung. And I got hold of his hand and I said, please don't slap me, because I don't slap you. And that normally works, but it didn't. And it ended up, there were 3 of them slapping me.
I know. I'll do it that way, OK? Oh!
On one occasion, I was kicked so hard in the shin, I could feel something trickling down my shin. Pulled my trousers up and it was pouring the blood all the way down. You've got to carry on. You've got to carry on. And I'm no hero, please, I'm not trying to say a hero. But I carried on.
You see, you've got to give them a really good stretch.
I think I've got a little mark on my eye now. I got hit with a magic wand about a week ago.
So, ow.
And this little boy came up with a ball, and he just took this little plastic ball and went, and it hit me in the eye, and it sort of fell back. But you can't swear, so you have to say, ouch. And the mum said, what'd you do that for? And he goes, well, he's a genie. I didn't think he'd feel it.
Ow!
You will get children who want to demand attention.
I'm Mrs. Marvel and this is Neville. Who are you? I've met Eleanor.
I'm Jonah!
If a child wants to be centre stage and always take the focus, I will give them that place.
Can you all see what Joseph's doing? He's going like this. It's fantastic. Can we all do that with Joseph? He's going. It's a lovely rocking like this.
I will allow them to take that place, but I can still do that and integrate and work with the other children at the same time.
And there's a da coming as well. Da, da, da.
Deep down you may think I'd like to slosh you, but no one has got to spoil my act.
So do you think you could paint him for me?
Yep.
You? Yep. Oh, right, OK then. Yeah. But we'll do it by magic. Would that be a good idea?
Yep.
You only need one to start the rest off. So you've got to jump on that one straight away. But when I say jump, I don't mean that literally. And give him something to do.
We have the colours back, and we'll take the picture out, and we'll have a look to see what you've done. Hey, look, have a look at that. Would you like to see it?
It's magic. I've got magic hands.
How about that then? Shall we give him a big, big clap? Wow.
What I don't do is get the noisy child up, get them out the way, because what that might then lead to is the other children sitting there thinking, well, you know, Johnny was sitting there screaming and putting his hand up, making a nuisance of himself. He's ended up getting picked. I'll do the same thing, and before you know it, you've got 30 kids there all misbehaving.
In the early days, Papalarny and Sean were 2 separate entities. And over the years, they merged. And I don't think there is much of a difference between Papalarny and Sean no more.
I am the funky genie, whether I'm working or not. I mean, I'm sort of a loud person anyway. I think maybe because I'm a little bit shy.
You're on another planet when you're doing the show, really.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah. You're in Custard land, aren't you?
I like to wash my hands, I like to scrub them clean. Scrub-a-dub-a-dub-dub, scrub-a-dub-a-dub-dub, like to wash them clean.
I stumbled across performing and theatre and was so exhilarated by it. I just thought, wow, I cannot believe people can make a living out of play. And I just thought, that's what I want to do. I want to be able to play.
Wake up!
Wake up, Sydney.
Oh, something's going on.
What's going on?
So I created a character called Mrs. Marvel, and she was a storytelling clown.
Sydney
Butterflies?
has turned into a butterfly.
She's quite maternal, although I evolved her before I had children, really. She was still being born when I had children. She's very kind.
Oh, look at her. Wow, she's lovely. And look at that mum back there with his really cool glasses.
Mrs. Marvel is a clown, so the children can project all their vulnerability, all their inner clown on me. I need that as a vehicle. It's an automatic sign for the children that this is a space for them to be a little bit silly.
Where are we? What is this place? It's very big, isn't it?
I know what it is.
What is it?
It's Sainsbury's.
It is, isn't it?
I started out as a clown, which I didn't particularly like, and I had to wear the brightly coloured costume and the nose and the clown thing, which I didn't ever feel like I fitted into that. And I think a lot of children are freaked out by clowns.
I would never enter a space until I've made eye contact with every single child in the room. So until that is established, I'm getting permission from the children to enter their space.
What's your name? Ellen. Are you called Ellen, are you? That's a lovely name. I like your top, Ellen.
Although I am Smartie, Artie number 3, there are other Smartie artists, and we don't even say we're clowns, basically because of certain phobias. Adults as well as children, believe it or not. So we don't say we're clowns, we are Smartie Artie, children's entertainers, and we don't use face makeup for that reason, because it's grotesque.
I'm glad I only wear a nose and I don't have to put makeup on. We did deliberately decided not to wear makeup because I do the very young children, and children are often easily put off by clowns. So our theory was, if we just get away with the absolute minimum, a red nose and plenty of colour, then we're a nice introduction to clowns without being the scary, because sometimes the children are unsure of the unknown, and we just lead them gently and they'll get ready for the painted clowns.
Wiggle your fingers, wiggle your thumbs, that's the way the magic comes. Now then, we've got a birthday girl in our midst. Come on, Tony. How old are you, Tony? 5. She's 55. Is that right? No. Oh, just 5. What, 1, 3, 7... Oh, that 5.
I've done one show. I don't know if I should say this really, but I've done one show where a woman booked me for 3 hours, and she said to me, look, I don't want you to entertain, I just want you to come as the genie, and if you see little Timothy over in the corner crying, I want you to go over to him and say, are you okay, Timothy? And that was all I did for like 3 hours.
It's the fear factor. You know, they think, oh my God, my Joe is having a party next week. I'm going to have 30 boys running around my house. What do I do?
Certainly when I was a child, I never had a children's entertainer. My parents ran my parties every year without fail, and would normally involve silly games like the mummy game, which is wrapping yourself up in toilet paper.
I remember having one of my own. It was a party at home. I think it was 5 at the time, but we never had a children's entertainer.
There wasn't that many parties. Not many people had parties in them days. Alan was the cream of entertainers, as it were. He was the children's entertainer in Essex and the surrounding counties. And I said, well, would you teach me? And he said yes.
I was so taken with Sean because he seemed to soak it up like blotting paper.
I need that really.
Now it's
Let's Ella's go. Spin the carpets. Ella's going to blow it and it's going to float. Ready, Ella? 1, 2, 3, blow. Whoa!
From the age of 3, 4, 5, I used to have Papalarny myself, and I used to come to the house in this big van with the signs on it and the flashing lights, and ring the doorbell. Hello, boys and girls, it's Papalarny, and it used to be a big event. And from then on, I've always had a sort of fascination with magic. I've always enjoyed it and enjoyed watching it.
Who likes magic?
And it's sort of been the basis for my inspiration for doing the magic today.
Now what we're going to do is we're going to take the car down to the Hippie.
So I sort of had his influence. I've adopted some of his mannerisms and the way I project my voice, and that's why I'm getting a bit croaky.
What is it? The red chicks are hot.
As I'm getting older, I'm starting to develop my own little things.
Now, boys and girls, Dippy is going to try to find sounds called Mary B. tries to go.
It's slowly starting to gravitate away from his act, which I'm pleased about.
Stop it! To make sure he's not a peaking duck. There you go, we're coming live. Woo! Can he see?
My parents have been very supportive of me. However, they want me to go to university, basically, and I'm telling them that to make a child happy and to bring a smile on a child's face is a lot more rewarding than getting a first degree for me.
Is that your card of red six of hearts? Good Dippy, I pick up the big of a Dippy.
I'm glad that he saw me and I inspired him to be an entertainer. That's good, that he saw something in me that he wanted to be like himself, like I saw in Alan.
Is it a dragonfly or a bee?
Not a dragonfly or a bee.
Cat.
Not a cat. This is Millie's favourite. No, not a slug.
Dog.
Not a dog.
I don't plan to just do children's parties for the rest of my life. I hope to do corporate events and sort of maybe delve into different types of business and maybe help sort of companies develop their people skills, which I'm fortunate enough to be relatively okay at.
Hold it, boys and girls! It's a baseball cap! Who wants the baseball cap?
18 years ago, I mean, it was nice that the kids would come up to you and like give you a big hug and you say, oh, and you pat them on the back. But because the way society has actually changed over the years, you have to be a bit more careful.
When I first started, I used to pick children up and dance with them. You know, it's great. Dance with the children, hold their hands. At the end, they want to come up and cuddle you. It's great. Nowadays, you know, I haven't danced with a child for years.
What I insist on now, I always insist that there's a parent present in the room when I do my shows. I won't do my show without an adult being there.
You do have to be so careful, particularly in handling children. When, for instance, you always have a youngster up to help you, and you've got to be very, very careful how you handle them. And it's something you have to be aware of today, which we weren't years ago.
Okay. Joseph, come here.
Okay.
Stand there. And help Nev. And everybody else help as well, please. Wiggle to the ceiling, wiggle to the floor.
It is a skill to be able to sit down with 30 children and hold their attention for an hour.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Joseph.
There's a lot of people who don't really have a clue. They just turn up with a disco box and tell children what to do.
Can you join in?
And I don't think that's very entertaining myself.
Beautiful, turned into a beautiful, turned into a beautiful butterfly. Flap, flap.
He's got a weird hat on.
I saw 3 guys doing one of the worst children's shows I have ever seen. It was in bad taste. They got one of the mothers up and they took the mickey out of her, and that's putting it nicely. It wasn't rehearsed, it was very slapdash, there was no discipline in the act. And I thought, oh dear, if this is the side of the new crop of children's entertainers, I'm not a happy man.
If somebody's good at what they do, they make it look easy. And if somebody makes it look easy, other people think they can do it. And that's any walk of life.
Look at the size of that one. And I've got a small bit over this side. No, I'm doing it. I'm watching.
a few entertainers who aren't really into children, but they do it for the money. And I don't think it's a job what you can actually do for money. It's got to be something you'll do because you do enjoy working with little people.
You need to love performing, definitely. But I think good children's entertainers love children too. There may be children's entertainers out there who get away with just being good performers, but I personally don't think that they'd be the best ones.
I think you've got to love children before performing, otherwise it will not go over. Children do spot a phony.
Yeah, do you want to see the monsters in my book? Yeah. They're scary. But you're too scared of monsters. No. Oh, yes, you are. Well, I am.
You not only have to love children, but you have to be able to contact your inner child at the risk of sounding stupid or cliched. Yes, you have to be in contact with a very playful side of your own personality.
Look, I don't know whether to, you know. What? Dad! They're gone!
If they like you as a person, if they find you entertaining, then they're going to love whatever you do for them.
Wiggle your fingers. Wiggle your thumbs. That's the way the pictures come. You've been doing this before. Let's see if we've got some pictures. Give yourselves a big clap. You've got to be barking mad, really.
Yeah. Does help.
Yeah.
If you're slightly mad,
yeah.
over dramatic.
All the best entertainers have a little bit wrong with them.
You've got to be born that sort of a little bit crazy, a little bit Peter Pan-ish, really, to become a children's entertainer.
And he's mad enough for the two of us.
Yeah. Boys and monkeys. No! Please give a big clap to Mr. Duck. What? Where's the penguin? Not to take yourself too seriously.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Because you ain't going to go and be a children's entertainer looking like Brad Pitt.
No.
He's not in there, I'm telling you!
It can be quite a lonely job being an entertainer.
He's not there, I'm telling you, he's not.
Typically when I'm at the parties, it's great. I'm entertaining, I'm the life and soul of the party, I'm the party animal. But then you come out and you're on your way to the next show and you're all by yourself.
All entertainers that I know, despite the fact they may be married with children, still tend to be loners.
What's your name?
Stefan.
What's it?
Stefan.
How old are you?
7.
He's 27. Give us 5. Ow.
To be a successful children's entertainer, you've got to know how a child's mind ticks.
Anybody who wins a gold medal is allowed to choose a prize. Anything you want.
The first person to win a prize, a lot of people would normally think would be the birthday child. I don't ever give the birthday child the first prize because all the other children think it's a fix.
I like them to feel affirmed by their contribution, however big or however small.
Can you see that Tara has got her shy face on? Can you all do that with me? Tara, I saw you!
If a child has a very small, scared, shy, I don't even want to be here gesture, well, let's all be shy. Let's all almost not be turned away from the circle.
I shout at the children, not in an aggressive way and just shouting, but it gives off an energy.
Yes! Everybody scream and shout hooray!
By shouting, it boosts the children. My energy level boosts the children.
Easy peasy, lemon!
One child decides to tell you how your magic trick works before you've done it.
You know those straight poles?
Yeah.
That's how it bends.
That's how it bends. Well, I tell you what, next time it bends, will you just tell me?
You have to brush it off, smile and carry on. It is quite stressful. It's not all fun and games.
So I went in there and I said, OK, now we're going to start the show. And like these kids were, yeah, right, and they were just jumping up and down, and there was nothing I could do.
They were playing tag in this person's house. Well, that's not acceptable behaviour. It's somebody's home.
I had a child once shout very loudly in my ear on purpose, and it hurt.
Eventually, I think a couple of kids sat down, and I'd done a few little tricks, but it wasn't my full show.
So I just took charge of the situation and said, right, even though I was dressed as a clown, right, this is not acceptable behaviour.
And I picked her up and I put her down. I said, that really hurt. And I carried on with the show.
I mean, I said to Mum, well, you know, I said, my time's up, I've got to go. And she's going, look, can't you stay a little bit longer?
I got home and I got a phone call from her mother. And she said, we'd like to book you.
It was the fact that I actually stood there without getting scared of these kids. I mean, there was no control anyway. But it was the fact that I actually stayed there. The mum actually thought I was really good that I sort of stood there.
And the parents weren't strong enough to deal with it.
And her mum booked me because she can't deal with her own child.
It's a little bit sore. It is a little bit sore. You know what you need to do? You need to suck your tongue like this. Can you suck on it?
I do sometimes feel that people don't really understand why would I do that, or, you know, how did I get into it? And I think people think, oh, well, that suits her because she's a little bit crazy.
I'm going to put it like this. One bit here and one bit here.
When they find out you're a children's entertainer, oh my God, how do you do it? You know, how can you do that every single week with those kids? It would drive me mad.
It's a great party icebreaker to say you're a clown, but I wouldn't necessarily use it.
Well, my dad hates Mr. Custard. Well, he doesn't hate him, but he doesn't...
He doesn't value him, does he?
Doesn't value Mr. Custard at all. You all right to see the big magic wand? Yeah. Oh, my gosh, it's... I told you it was big!
Get it out. How big is it?
My goodness gracious! Look at that! Give yourselves a big clap! Hey!
There is a certain snobbery, particularly amongst the younger element of magicians who are slick at the sleight of hand and the close-up magic, and they rather inclined to look down upon the children's entertainer.
We say the magic words, 1, 2, 3, wibbly! Oh, nothing seems to have happened. I don't understand it. I think I'll have to go and get another one. I don't understand that.
If other people have got their opinions about me as a children's entertainer, I actually don't give a monkeys, because I know that it's, you know, I know I like it.
There's snobbery from Theatreland about children's entertainment. Even within the realms of children's theatre, there is a lack of understanding about the overlap, and I think there is a snobbery around it.
Right, where's his feet? No, not yours. Where's it? That's it. Is he right, fish and chips? Oh.
At first, I did miss the professional status. When I was teaching full-time, parents knew me and children knew me and they knew what I was and what I represented. But now I'm established as Mrs. Custard. I don't miss it as much, to be honest.
Thank you very much. Give him a big clap. Hooray. Are we ready? Da, 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 da.
And my daughters, they just took it on, didn't they?
Yeah.
I thought you got it right.
The only time they objected was when we said if we got married, we might get married as Mr. and Mrs. Custard, and that's when they got cross, didn't
Yeah.
they? They didn't want that.
I sort of try not to tell people what I do, because like everywhere you go, you say, I'm a magician, they go, show us a trick. And they always think they're the first person to do that, and I refuse to do tricks for like random people unless I'm trying to impress someone.
Put the red one inside the bag. Inside. Stop dancing!
It doesn't happen to bricklayers. They don't go, oh, build us a wall. It changes. Whatever you're doing, whether you be having a meal with somebody you've never met before, or in Tesco's having a chat, it changes the whole direction of the conversation, and it all becomes around me. And I don't want that.
Stir it. All shout out, bing, bang, boo! Yeah,
The main thing is you are being paid to entertain, and your own feelings don't matter. Whether your wife has died or your kids have died or somebody is in hospital.
I can be on the bed, laying down ill, and I know I've got to go to work. I get up, I get dressed, and I go. I do my show, I come back and get back in bed again. The show goes on. I mean, them children, they get one birthday a year. They can't go back on it, you know. You can't. They're only going to be 6 once.
They call it Dr. Theatre because you've got to get on stage even if you've got a temperature of 102, you still have to get on stage. It's the same with children's entertaining. You might be feeling miserable, you might have been dumped by your boyfriend, you know, but ultimately you've still got to make that child's birthday really special.
You finish a 2-hour show and you think, well, that's really gone well, and then somebody will come up to say it to you and they say, what do you do for a living?
Oh, well, you'll just have this little one, because, you see, I couldn't really find a big one anywhere. You see, you've got the biggest one, and you've got the smallest one.
When I left drama school, it was never my intention to continue as a children's entertainer. I thought that I was going to be so successful as an actor that I would never need to do that.
Aren't you having slug soup today? Yeah. I love slug soup, it's my favourite. But I don't like snail soup because the shells get all stuck in your teeth.
And I did other jobs. I was a waitress, I taught singing, I did drama classes, you name it, I tried every job under the sun. And then, as time went on, I started to miss it.
To entertain children can be one of the most rewarding jobs on the face of the earth.
I get to work with children's imaginations.
I get to dress up like a fairy or a princess or a character that, as a child, I would have just died to have been.
I'm looking for the first fairy sitting on their toadstool with their arms folded and their legs folded, their eyebrows folded and their nose folded and their cheeks folded and their tongue folded. It's very difficult to speak with your tongue folded.
I just love children. And animals, really, but I mean, you don't entertain animals, but I just love children.
You go in and you see the birthday boy and they're so pleased to see, oh, Mrs. Custard, Mr. Custard, you come to my party. And how can you not be lifted by that?
There's a lot of joy involved, genuine joy.
Is it the basket? Hang on a minute. Bubsy, are you there?
There's not a finer sound in the world than the sound of the laughter of children.
I love kids.
I have had sensible jobs, or what people call sensible jobs. To me, this is the most sensiblest job in the whole wide world.
Out popped! Tiny! Caterpillar.
I actually have a wonderful life.
And it beats working for a living.
Swinging London in the 1960s and how the British self-image was portrayed in the films of the period. Stay with BBC4 as Sylvia Sims, Sir Dirk Bogart and Tom Courtenay talk about how it was for them. Hollywood UK, next.
How long